In this video, we're going to study chapter 12 in Theophrastus' Characters, where Theophrastus treats of the impure man, the impure man. So let's get started reading this lesson, and then we'll talk a little bit about how the knowledge of this character can help us in our own life. Chapter 12, the impure man. This man is everywhere to be known by the open and scandalous grossness of his manners. This man is everywhere to be known by the open and scandalous grossness of his manners. He willfully offends the eye of modesty. Now, when we see these descriptions provided by Theophrastus, we have to be careful that we study all the details and that we don't judge someone to be guilty of being one of these characters who doesn't really do all of the things that the character is said to do. For example, it doesn't say that this man has bad manners. It doesn't say the impure man is a man with bad manners. It says that his manners are open, scandalous, gross, and willful. Okay, so the impure man is a man who not only has bad manners, but he does these sort of gross, offensive things on purpose. Right, that's the impure man. He does these things knowingly, willfully, and on purpose. He is intentionally impure. At the theater, it is his delight to clap his hands after the rest of the audience is still, just to be obnoxious. He practices his bad manners intentionally, willfully. At a show, when the crowd, let's say the crowd applauds and finishes clapping and they quiet down, then he shouts out and yells and claps just to be offensive. He's impure. In an interval of silence, he eructates so loudly as to attract the notice of all about him. So while we may at times need to pass gas or even burp, these things are natural, and they're sort of always surrounded with some sort of embarrassment or funniness. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but that's not what the impure man does. He's not embarrassed. He doesn't apologize. He does it intentionally to distract others and get attention by being gross. And now, you may think that's funny, and we may laugh or giggle when someone does that, but we have to realize that that's a sign of an impure person. Again, not if it's done accidentally, but if it's done willfully, openly and scandalously gross. That's a sign of an impure man, and that's not funny. That's a serious matter, because that could be revealing a serious character problem in another person. And we'll see that if a person does that, they're likely to commit these other faults as well. So let's keep reading. He frequents the fruit stalls in the open market, from which he helps himself munching nuts, apples, or almonds, while he feigns or pretends to chat with the vendor, the person selling. So he walks up to like going to the grocery store where the fruit is, or if there were displays of nuts and fruits and things like that, and he'll talk to the person working at the grocery store, but he'll eat while he's standing there. Just gross, impure, bad manners, willfully. He calls someone by his name in public with whom he has no acquaintance, or commands a person to wait for him whom he can see is hastening on to business, just intentionally annoying. Call someone by name that he doesn't really know, call someone to wait for him who he can see has something to do or somewhere to go. He will accost a man with mock congratulations who is leaving court after having lost a cause and incurred a heavy fine. Mocking a man who is going through an unfortunate time, intentionally, in public, to mock the man, to embarrass the man. Bad manners. As he returns from the market laden with eatables or carrying an abundance of things that he's bought from the store, he hires musicians, displays what he has bought to all that he may meet, and invites them to the revel. Or, standing at a shop or tavern door, he proclaims that he is about to get drunk. And that's a good sign of this character. Not a man who has a problem and gets drunk, perhaps not even wanting to do so, but simply lacking self-control. This is a man who announces that he's going to get drunk and then gets himself drunk willfully and intentionally. He will wish ill luck to his mother as he sees her going to consult the augur. So the mother, again, in Greek culture, seeking some advice or some help from, like a fortune teller or counselor or advisor. He will wish ill luck or bad luck to his own mother, as she's obviously anxious about something and seeking help. He overthrows the cups of the worshippers who are about to perform their libations. Libations were sacrifices offered in ancient religions, where someone would take a cup of wine and they would pour a bit of it out onto the ground as an offering of thanksgiving to the gods for providing them with the wine. He'll see men about to perform libations, about to perform a respectful sacrifice to the gods, and knock over their cups. Disrespectful, willfully bad-mannered. He will then stare and grin as if the accident were portentous. He'll laugh as if his ability to disrespect their religious practices proves their religion to be false or their worship to be unholy. If a female performer is playing on the hautboy, which is a sort of pipe instrument, first he claps while others would listen. Then he thrusts the tune, and presently rudely commands her to be silent. Just no respect for someone who's performing for others, no respect for others who are listening. He acts as if he's the only person present, and he's the actual performer at the show. And at supper, he heedlessly spits across the table on the butler. The butler, of course, is a servant. And while the butler has an inferior place, he, with bad manners, disrespectfully and rudely treats the butler as if he's some sort of animal, just because he has a position of service. So this is the behavior of the impure man. And as I said, many of these behaviors, many things that we might consider bad manners are sometimes done accidentally or ignorantly. Someone who's in a new situation, for example, and doesn't know what's proper to do, doesn't know how to act in a certain situation, may make mistakes that are considered bad manners that are not intentional. And we're to consider that, and when we see someone do those things, we're to ignore them and understand that it was not intentional. We do those things ourselves, and we should think, according to the golden rule, how we would like others to treat us if we do something that's bad-mannered but accidental, and we should treat them in the same way. Sometimes people will simply do things because they lack self-control. As I said, a man may get drunk because he has a problem controlling himself. He has a problem, a weakness, and he needs the help of others. But this impure man the faults that he commits are not of that kind. He announces the bad things that he's going to do before he does them. And when he does something that's bad-mannered, he doesn't ask for others to forgive him or excuse him. He smiles and laughs about it and seeks to draw more attention to himself when he does it. These are the behaviors and qualities of an impure man. And as I said before, this sort of thing, this character is no laughing matter. This is not a joke. To be impure is a vice. It's a form of wickedness. And the real danger of these vices is that vices have consequences. Vices have consequences that lead to all kinds of serious troubles in our lives, whether it's bringing disease upon ourselves through vices, whether it's breaking the law, whether it's getting ourselves into problems where we become addicted and unable to stop or control ourselves. Vices are no joke, even if they seem simple. It's sort of like a small weed growing in a garden. If you leave that weed because it's small, you're ignoring the fact that that weed is going to grow. And it's going to grow and grow, and it's going to become so big and strong that you're not able to pull it out. And then it's going to go to seed and produce 1,000 other weeds. And so these small faults, these vices in our lives need to be rooted out, not laughed at, not ignored. They need to be rooted out before they produce bigger problems. And when we see someone committing these things, one of the works of mercy that we learn as Catholics is to admonish the sinner, to correct someone who's doing something evil. And when we do that, we have to remember that it's a work of mercy. We're seeking to help that person. And it's because of this, because faults always grow into greater faults if they're not checked. And if a person is not going to check his own faults, it's a work of mercy for us to help him do so. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. Jesus teaches us that if someone does something that offends us, we're to go and speak to him alone about that thing and to offer correction privately. That's a mark that we're truly interested in the person's welfare, that we go and seek to offer some help, to admonish him for a fault or correct some problem that we see in him. We do so privately and secretly. We cover his sin. We don't gossip about it to others. We don't tell others. We don't talk to people about it. We don't confront him publicly and embarrass him. If we're sincere and we desire to help someone, we go and talk to that person privately and directly. And if we're not able to do that, then we have no business correcting them. So when you see people correct people publicly, or they write on social media or Facebook about someone's faults, that's not good manners. That's not admonishing the sinner. That's just gossip. That's embarrassing and selfish. So consider the impure man, especially among young boys and girls. It's often silliness and things like that. We have impure behavior that's giggled at and laughed at and is treated as if it's funny. Or if you see a movie and there's a character in a show or movie who acts impure, people will laugh. But we have to realize that impurity is not funny. It's a sign of deeper character problems, and those problems, if they're not corrected, are going to create bigger problems in the life of an impure man. So this is Theophrastus' lesson on the impure man, chapter 12 of his characters. God bless your studies.